You are listening to the Pedagogy Primer podcast. I'm Mark Allamore, Director for the Center for Online Learning and Innovation at Canisius College in Buffalo, New York. In today's episode, we sit down with Jennifer Patrick, the Director for Executive Education and Leadership in the Richard J. Wehle School of Business here at Canisius College. Jen Patrick has developed a high-contact, multifaceted program to help Wehle School students achieve academic excellence as well as professional preparation, useful in coursework, campus community activities, and in their careers after graduation. This is a major asset for a small, private liberal arts university and ensures that students make the most of their years of study in college. In addition to developing and leading several initiatives at Canisius, she was the Executive Director for the Center for Professional Development, here at Canisius. She is a graduate of our MBA program. Welcome, Jen, and thank you for being here with us today.
Thanks so much, Mark. I'm thrilled to be here.
So I guess we should start looking at how you arrived where you are right now. Tell us about how you segued from your Center for Professional Development work to your current role as the Director for Executive Education and Leadership.
Well, the CPD really served as an excellent springboard for my current role in that I worked with a lot of employers in Western New York and upstate New York in training and consulting services and certifications. And when you have those kind of high contact conversations with employers, you really do get a sense of what they need. And consistently, regardless of the sector, they were very clear that although our graduates could do the work they were hired to do, some of their skills in things like confidence and presentation and talking and communicating, those interpersonal skills, they felt really needed some attention. So this all really happened when the new dean came on board, Dean Rotundo, and she and I spoke a lot about it. And between the two of us, we came up with the Leadership and Professional Development Program, and that segued me from my role as ED for the Center for Professional Development to my current role as Director.
And so what you sort of touched upon a lot of these skills, which are, we're being told across the board, are high demand skills for students. Can we break that apart a little bit or break it open a little bit and look at what skills students are actually developing in your LPD program?
Okay. So the program is really 3 courses, 3 components. And the first, we start with their personal brand. And no, that's not making your LinkedIn headline sexy. It's about really having an understanding of yourself. The consistent feedback we get from students is that no one's ever sat down with me and talked about, my personality and what is a good career fit and what should my resume look like. So we provide a lot of one-on-one coaching, I do, with all of the students. And so we start in that first course to talk about who they are authentically, what their resume looks like, their value proposition, and then we help them translate that into a cover letter and introductions. And then we cap off that first course with a personality assessment, and that's the Workplace Big 5 assessment. So that's sort of the personal brand, the foundation about, understanding yourself and how to best present it. I mean, the dean, when we first started talking about this program, she really stressed and felt very strongly, as did I, that in order to be a good manager leader, you really do need to understand yourself first. And so that first course, Biz 601 in the LPD, is intended to give you that foundation. So we get that foundation in the first course, and then we move on to the second course, and that's where they do that personality assessment, the Workplace Big 5, and they stand back and they look at their strengths and their weaknesses and areas that they need to improve upon, and they translate that into an improvement plan. For a lot of our students, especially those coming right from undergraduate, maybe not so much the middle managers and executives in graduate school, this is the first time they've really had to put a plan together that focuses on how do I manage myself better, okay? And so they do that plan. We teach them behavioral interview training, and they also do an informational interview. It's pretty rigorous. Each course is about 8 hours of student time, but there's a lot of one-on-one coaching throughout. So it's not just sort of getting an assignment done and handing it in. It is not academic. It is totally self-directed, online coaching, one-on-one with me. So they really are building on their own strengths and areas that they need to improve upon. We then cap the leadership program with the last course, Biz 603, and that's their path forward. That is specifically translating what their career goals are, how are they going to look for that next job or promotion, because we have a lot of students that, are already working in banking or in healthcare, and they're looking to make that next step up, which was part of what their graduate studies were about. So it really is multifaceted. It is about understanding yourself, making sure you can translate who you are authentically on paper and really through the spoken word, so that whether you are looking for that next promotion or your first job, you really are feeling rock solid when you're done graduating with your master's and the leadership certificate, which, by the way, all graduate students in the Wehle School have to enroll in my program. So whether you are MBA or Master's in Finance or MBA PA or our Master's in Data Analytics, you are required to take this certificate course, and it's a pass or fail. So we are looking for improvement, and that's what we work those 3 semesters on with the student.
So it's a fundamental feature of a Wehle education, basically.
It is really that, absolutely, Mark. And I think it is a wonderful discriminating characteristic. It sets us apart from so many other graduate experiences, because the students coming to us today are very different than 20 years ago. Right? It is a different world, some wonderful things, some scary things, but nonetheless, it's a different world. And we really have to go to where students are at. And this program does that, because although it's the same process that we're taking every student through, it's individualized. When I am coaching an executive who has 20 years of experience and they've chosen now to do their MBA, where I meet them is very different than 70% of the other students in my program who are coming right from undergraduate. So I think this is why the program gets such really positive reviews from our students, because we are going to where they are at. And I can tell you from an academic, a teaching standpoint, so exciting for me.
Yeah.
It's so exciting for me.
Absolutely. And it meshes well with the Ignatian pedagogical paradigm, talking about self-reflection, talking about, meeting students where they are and valuing their experiences. And so it's a perfect fit for a Jesuit education.
Yes, very much so. Very confidence building, regardless of where a student finds himself at.
Yeah. And in this, what approaches or practices have you used that really have worked well for you?
Well, I think one of the things, and I'm probably going to beat this up quite a bit in our conversation, is that fundamental premise, of going to where the student is at. So if you are a middle manager, an executive, or you're coming right from undergrad, going back to graduate school is a jolt to the system, right? Yeah. We've all done it, right? Yeah. Or coming right from undergrad where your only baseline experience is an undergraduate education. Graduate school, as you know all too well, is very different and very demanding.
It can be an abrupt change.
It can be a shock to the system, So what we do fundamentally is we make sure that we recognize it is going to be a shock to the system. So when I'm having a coaching session with you, Mark, and it is mid-October and you're busy with work and 3 kids and everything's going crazy and you look like you're going to have a nervous breakdown because it's so much going on, I remember that, which is why at the beginning of every LPD course, 601, 2, or 3, we do some fairly standard practices. Number 1, beyond the syllabus, I do a video syllabi. So it's a minute long. It talks about the essence of the course, what you need to expect, what you need to focus on. And I will tell you, hearing my voice, hearing someone's voice is just so compelling. And it really does make the fundamentals of what you're trying to get to them stick, I find.
Yeah.
So we do that. I do a 15-minute primer for Business 602 and 603. And that 15-minute primer, I offer it 3 or 4 times at the beginning of every semester for each course. That's intended to go over the syllabi, answer any questions they have. It's my mini orientation. But in 601, this is where I think we make the most impactful difference. When they start the Leadership and Professional Development Program, when they're in that first semester of grad school and they're wondering, oh my goodness, what have I got myself into? We host a 2-hour orientation. And that orientation, the first 45 minutes is about the LPD, a lot of the things that I'm talking to you about here, but most of it is training. So we do how to get organized. We go over fundamental basics on how to get organized, from printing out all your syllabi, putting all of your deadlines in a calendar, whether it's an e-calendar or a hard calendar, reverse engineering your deadlines when you look at the second week of October and you go, oh my gosh, 4 things are due. What am I going to do? Well, you're going to have to start some of them a little early. We just go over how to get organized, everything from to-do lists to prompts to using technology, how to give yourself breaks, mindfulness apps. I mean, we cover the gamut. Because if you haven't been to school in a while, this is going to be a shock. And if you're coming from undergrad, this is going to be a shock. So, there's so much coming at you, right?
Yeah.
When you're starting graduate school. So that is one of the things we do, and we call it our Start Strong orientation. The other thing I do in that orientation is I include training on best practices on how to study for technically oriented classes.
Yeah.
So accounting, economics, stats, finance, those classes that tend to be high numeracy, they require a lot of critical thinking. How do you get organized for that? Like, how do you keep up with the content? Yeah. Everything from your, prompting sheets to study habits, taking a breaks, the Pareto method, all of these kinds of things that you can use to be effective and make sure that by mid-October, you're not looking at, oh my goodness, I have to drop this class because you weren't able to keep up. So we have really felt, I will tell you, that the feedback from students from the Start Strong orientation has been extremely positive. And I only implemented that in the program probably about 18 months into it. And I surveyed prior students.
Okay.
And I asked them, what do you need to know? This is what I'm thinking. Tell me what you think would help you. Yeah. Now that you'll be able to reflect on your graduate experience, what could have made it so much better at the beginning? And they shared with me, I never knew getting organized was going to be that important,
it just didn't seem that was real work.
Yeah, it didn't seem that. You've captured it beautifully. It didn't seem like it was real work. So I think getting that feedback and hearing directly from them and them that look on their face like, oh gosh, if I'd only known, So we work really hard on getting that feedback and hearing those reflections. It's not unusual for me to send out an email to half a dozen students that I know are going to give me unfettered, unvarnished feedback on something we're doing, or I often send out a mini survey that maybe has one question because I want to hear, what they're thinking about things, and then I can refine the program as I go along. So really, I found that heading things off at the pass, right at the beginning of the semester has really diminished the amount of additional coaching support that I might have to provide. If I'm going to provide coaching support, I want it to be about your brand and your resume and how to talk. I want it to be on the value-added stuff, right? Yeah. I don't want it to be on how to get organized. I want to equip you with those practices at the beginning so you can start to use them. But it's not uncommon. Students will start to use it and they'll reach out and say, hey, what do you think about this? I've organized my stuff. Would you mind taking a look at it? And so I do a lot of that. I call them touch point discussions. Yeah. So they are required for each course to meet with me. They get about 6 to 8 hours of one-on-one coaching from me during the course of the LPD. And then often I will have students, get in touch with me and book 15 or 20 minutes or half an hour to talk about special needs that they might have above and beyond curricular, right? Like getting organized, studying. Yeah. How do I deal with a problem at work? It's stressing me. I'm not sure, life, right?
Yeah. So it's sometimes you're a sympathetic colleague that's helping them navigate professional life as they're taking a big step.
Right.
That's great.
Right. And, for a lot of our older, say middle manager, even executive students who are in graduate studies, they're looking at making career changes. These are sort of watershed moments in their professional lives. So, again, understanding where they're at and being able to gauge how I need to pivot, quite frankly. To give them what they need. I have lots of entrepreneurs, for example, who've done the entrepreneur thing, had a successful business, decided to cash out, as it were, and they're like, I'm ready for the next thing. Oh dear, now I'm here. Oh dear, what's that going to be?
So this is always sort of keeping you maneuvering as well as you need to meet the needs of a diverse student population.
Very much so, Mark. But that's the fun of it, right? It's kind of always fresh.
Yeah, it's always an adventure.
Yeah.
that's,
Touche.
And so you have some sense. You mentioned a survey, and you have some sense getting some feedback from students, which is sort of on brand for Canisius. I mean, we've talked about this in previous podcast episodes. Of a lot of what we do at Canisius is built off of things our Canisius students or alumni have told us, right? So we place that respect in our students, that we want to hear their views of what of how we're approaching academic and professional development. But you probably, I'm guessing you probably also have some other measures or indicators of how well different things in your program are working.
Yes. So I can give you some examples other than surveys, and usually those are very brief and very short. Yeah. You know, I have a core management skills webinar. And it is not academic. It is about how to build teams, create psychological safety, how to give guidance. We don't use the F word, feedback. It's all about guidance. That sticks with them, believe me. So I give them, they get hard skills. And what I do immediately after those seminal learning experiences, I do a quick survey. It takes usually a minute, and it's usually a question or two. And that gives me that on-the-spot feedback, because if you leave it gets cloudy.
Get it while it's fresh.
While it's fresh. So that's one thing that we do. For some of our requirements in the program, like interviewing, and we've had really big wins here because a lot of professional people, regardless of where they're at, have never had interview training. Like, some people are naturally good at it, some not so good. Yeah. Even if you're good at it, you tend to be all over the place anyway. So
muddling through work in the past, but now they find themselves at a different place professionally.
Well put. So for things like interviewing, they're actually graded and scored. So in 602, we use Big Interview. And they go on. I train them on how to answer a behavioral interview question. They go on the Big Interview platform. They record their answers to 3 interview questions, and then I go and I mark it and grade it. They have to do that same assignment in 603, and we expect an improvement. If we don't see an improvement, then I continue to coach them and have them redo the assignment. So there are some great platforms. One does not have to go out and reinvent the wheel. There's fabulous platforms, like Big Interview and Workplace Big 5. That's very numerically oriented, so they know if they've have a high need for stability and they need a lot of recovery time, they know some of the things they need to do for themselves. So we utilize some really good platforms in addition to those spot surveys. And then certainly at the end of the program, part of the final 603 requirement is actually a final LPD survey on the program. What did you get out of this? How have you changed fundamentally? What future development needs do you have? How would you grade your resume now compared to when you started? And I can tell you without reservation, the number one consistent feedback that we get from students in that survey is, I feel so much more whole. I feel more confident. And I think that's because the core of this program focuses on their authentic selves, not some rubric of what we think someone needs to be when they're done a master's education. We'll give them the skills. We've got great faculty in the business school who are giving them what they need to know. But my focus is on helping them feel more empowered and like a more well-rounded human, so that when they get out there, they're not feeling afraid, they're not feeling uncertain. I mean, there's obviously going to be those moments, but it's really focusing on, kind of getting back to that Jesuit tradition and that wholeness, that human wholeness. And that's the thing that I get so excited about. Well, you teach, and when you're dealing with a student and you can see their eyes light, they get that little spark, absolutely. And you go, they get it. Yeah. Those are the wins, right?
And they're self-aware of their having developed a skill, an ability, having achieved mastery, if only tentatively or moving, but that growth mindset right there gets a huge boost, and that's
why we teach.
It's why we teach, and it is a peculiarly sort of there's other education traditions that do this too, but in Ignatian pedagogy, we talk about this constantly: self-reflection, developing discernment.
Yes,
and
love
so
that
that's
word.
obviously an essential. Should be an essential outcome for a Jesuit education.
Right, right.
And so we find ourselves in 2022 in some peculiar circumstances, right? We're coming out of a pandemic. We're going into the 2020s. There's I guess I'll euphemistically say a dynamic economy. From where you are and what you're doing here at Canisius, what's your best advice for faculty colleagues here at Canisius, but also just beyond in higher education?
Well, I know, again, I keep going to this, but this has been my learning. I guess my journey has involved continually over the process of managing and creating this program is to always be evolving. You know, I've got the program down to where we need it to be, but I am constantly looking for ways to reach my students more effectively. I'm constantly saying to myself, and it's sort of a call to action for all of those out there who might be listening, stretch. You've got to keep stretching. Their needs are a lot more complex. It has changed significantly in 20 years, 10 years, even 5 years. We are dealing with individuals that have a lot more different, varied needs. And, you know, whether it is doing videos and reach outs, and I will do phone calls occasionally if I need to, just if I haven't heard from a student and I'm wondering how they're doing. I mean, I know that sounds a little obvious, but I think continuing to stretch is really important. I know it's tough to say that to educators after we've just gone just gone through COVID, and quite frankly, we're all pretty tired. But beyond that, the winds keep telling me that stretching is the right thing to do, and I actually think it makes me happier at what I do, and it actually it frees me up to do the things I should be doing with the students. So I do things like checklists. All of my D2L, they all look the same. You go to any of my courses, you know everything. Step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's kind of crazy simple stuff, but it works because my students are feeling comforted by the fact that they know when they're with me, it's clear, it's recognizable, they know what to expect. They know they're going to get a 1-minute syllabi video and a checklist, and they're going to get a few video instructions interspersed through the 6 steps of 601. All of these things, the program necessarily didn't start that way, but I found that my students, they really needed it because of the demands of graduate school, family, working, COVID, and that's where it's evolved. I'm still looking at ways to be more digitally connect, I guess is the word.
I suppose we all are.
Right, yeah. But I just think I really encourage people to stretch as best they can to reach their students. No one is unreachable, even the ones that I'm like, oh, am I ever going to get in there? And then surprisingly, you do.
Yeah.
You do, because maybe you changed something about your approach a little bit that got them there. And for me, that's the joy, I would say. But stretch and be curious. I mean, you know, I bug you a lot. I'm like, Mark, I'm thinking about this, and you send me ideas and examples of things. And, you know, having you as a resource has really it's actually made the program very good. And I think it's made me a better educator.
I think a way I think about that is I say faculty were better than anyone expected, especially naysayers, but even especially faculty, at innovating and adapting and overcoming the problems of the COVID-19 pandemic. Right. They did a better job than they give themselves credit for. Right. And so adopting a culture of let's change to see what works. Yeah. Maybe we're data-driven. Sometimes, depending on what the stakes are, if it's not if there isn't a lot of danger involved, going with your gut in trying something new, be bold. Be bold.
Well put.
Because you're really good at this, is what I'd say collectively to college faculty. Yes. And so don't be afraid to be a little uncomfortable in trying something new.
Yeah. Be uncomfortable. That's great. That's really what it's all about.
And so I guess I'm interested a little bit in your course orientation. That's a you do that face-to-face or video?
I do it in person.
Okay.
And I do it via Zoom. So it's a mix because we do the Start Strong orientation. We do when they start the program. It usually is the Saturday or the week prior to the first start of classes, or the first week of classes, rather. So we will do that via Zoom. The PowerPoint, the videos are all online, but I walk them through it either through Zoom, and I did that obviously during the pandemic. But now that things are getting a little more back to normal, as it were, sure. I also do it in person, and also during that initial Start Strong orientation, I book their first coaching session with me. So usually I've got students afterward and calendars open and we're booking their time and we're getting stuff. So I drive home the point that we are hitting the ground running. And this is just not something you're going to put a check mark next to in the checkbox. But the Start Strong really, really does set the tone for them being engaged and understanding the expectations.
Establishes the high expectations up front.
Yeah. And it's the expectations, but also saying, look, this is the most important management adage you're ever going to learn. I can't manage what I don't know. So if you're struggling, if something's going on at work with COVID, I mean, I had students who were working during COVID and they had colleagues that got sick and their workload doubled and their life got crazy. Or I had people who had loved ones die. I mean, you have to be nimble. I mean, you have to be responsive to this. So I set that tone very early. Yes, we have expectations, but I'm going to be your best friend in the world for the next 18 months. And I'm going to help you be the person you think you want to be or don't even know that you want to be yet. And so it's like we're in this together. And that very much is a tone that I set early.
And maybe it models for them being mentors in their own professional life as they become senior officers in their organizations, and they can help younger people
absolutely.
in empathetic ways.
Yes, absolutely. I have a number of students, when they're done the program, tell me in that last coaching session, or they follow up with an email saying, if you need anything, I would love to mentor someone, or can I coach them if you need someone to do mock interviews? I mean, that's victory, right? Like that's just sweet, right?
That's teaching leadership.
Yes.
And that's priceless.
Yes, it is. It is indeed.
Jen Patrick, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been great.
Well, thank you. This has been a lot of fun. I appreciate you asking, Mark.
Thank you for listening to the Canisius Pedagogy Primer podcast. Relevant links can be found in show notes. For more helpful resources for teaching and learning, visit www.canisius.edu/COLI.